exceeded expectation? The title, demand exceeded what? Are we missing a word? No. Exceeded expectations? No, it's all. Exceeded what?
We're on? All right. Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the town of Pelham. Council for Monday, March 6, 2017, to order. We will begin with the singing of the national anthem, and I would ask all who are able to rise and Councillor Papp to lead us.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Papp. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor King. Be it resolved that the agenda for the March 6th, 2017 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. We do have a motion moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Durley, that item 14.3 to 14.8 be moved forward to be considered immediately or as part of the presentation section 5.1. And we'll do that as soon as we hear from our legal counsel, Callum Shedden, regarding the agreements. So that means that all of the bylaws for the various agreements will be considered immediately after hearing from Mr. Shedden, and then we'll consider those then. So call the question on that amendment to the agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? The amendment carries. Are there any other changes to the agenda? There being none, I'm going to call the question on the amended agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries as amended. Thank you. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That is any conflicts of interest that any members of council may have. Do any members have any conflicts that they need to declare?
No, Mr. Mayor.
There are none. Thank you very much. Can that be so noted in the minutes? We'll now move into 5.1 presentations, and I would ask Mr. Shedden to come forward and give us a brief overview of the user agreements that council will consider.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Callum Shedden. I'm the town's lawyer, and I prepared the license agreements in consultation with town staff, particularly Ms. Van Ravensway, in response to requests from the user groups for ice time, gymnasium time, arena time. So these license agreements were also reviewed by council, as you're aware, and there were some amendments made as a result of that review as well. The license agreements have been circulated to the user groups, and there were some minor amendments as a result of that. So they have been thoroughly reviewed, and the approach that we took was to create a template, which means that there are similarities. There are certain parts of the agreement which are common to all, and there are parts which are user-specific. So the approach was the first 4 sections of the agreement contain user-specific content which relate to the facilities that are going to be used, the number of hours, the rates going to be charged, and the balance of the agreement addresses issues such as requirement for insurance and the responsibilities of the organizations that are using the arena. In the licenses that are
Community
for
center.
council, pardon me?
The community center.
Oh, sorry, yes, community center, more than just the arena. The licenses that are before council tonight set the fees for the first year. In subsequent years, the fees will be the fees set by the town for the use of these facilities. At that time, there'll be an annual contract that will be signed, and that contract will include the fees and the scheduling of the events, and will also address the town policies that are in place on an annual basis. That's things like the concussion protocol that user groups are required to adhere to, and other policies of the town. So that's something that will be done on an annual basis going forward. The license agreements are a 5-year commitment by the town in terms of providing the facilities as per the terms of the agreement. They're also a 5-year commitment by the user groups that they'll be taking these facilities and using them in accordance with the terms of the license for a 5-year term. And that's my brief synopsis, and I think everyone's anxious to get to the license agreements, so happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Do members of council have any questions for Mr. Shedden? Thank you very much, Mr. Shedden. Appreciate that. Thank you. We'll now move to the bylaws. And these are contained, the agreements are contained within these bylaws. So it has been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, second by Councillor King. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration of the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass the same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. Bylaw 3842, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Pelham Minor Hockey Association to grant a license and use and occupy designated portions of the Pelham Community Center as set out therein. Then we have other bylaws. I won't read them all. Bylaw 3843, and that's the bylaw with Pelham Panthers basketball. Bylaw 3844 with the Niagara Center Skating Club. Bylaw 3845 with the Pelham Junior Hockey Club. Bylaw 3846 with the Southern Tier Admirals AAA Hockey. And bylaw 3847, and that's with the Welland Raiders Minor Lacrosse Association. Comments or questions to any of those bylaws? As our legal counsel has said, they've been vetted by all of the groups, vetted by council, etc. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. I just want to say some brief comments before we do the signings and make this follow that final step. Very, very pleased that several community groups have come forward, as you have, and you are representatives of those community groups, come forward and are about to sign 5-year agreements with the town for the use of the Pelham Community Center. These agreements, as council knows, exceed the revenue goals for the center and confirm the use of the facility. Very, very excited that our own local groups from the town, and a few coming back, like lacrosse and the figure skating, are using the facility and will be using it and signing these agreements, these 5-year agreements. They actually exceed our expectations in terms of, as I said, in terms of both the revenue for the town and the usage, which is great. We're absolutely thrilled, I know. And they show that the Pelham Community Center, with all of your work, your volunteers, the work of your executive and the players, it shows that the Pelham Community Center will be the place for residents of all ages to gather and to enjoy a wide variety of recreational, social, health, and community activities for many, many years. So we're thrilled to enter into these agreements, and without further ado, I will ask members of council if you want to come down, the deputy mayor and others, you can come down behind, and the clerk and I will invite, just for the process, we'll invite representatives of the groups to come forward. They can make a brief statement if they want at the podium, and then we'll have the signing. I know that some of them are here, they have social media, etc. They want to do a photo, so we'll do that photo. And then at the very end, if you could stay, and I noticed that, as I said earlier, the media would like to do a photo as well, a group photo of everyone. Okay? So without further ado, stand around.
Pretty crowded down there. Pretty crowded. We'll see how it goes.
first, after council gets settled here. Brian Bleach, I think they said, Brian, if you could address the podium. I know Kojiko's here and they want to make sure that it's taped. We're also taping this meeting and put it on our streaming for the website. So Brian Bleach with basketball, Pelham Panthers basketball.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of Pelham basketball and the 425 athletes and approximately 350 families that we represent at Pelham basketball, I want to thank Mayor, Council for this opportunity. I know I've been through it the long haul, the 2 years going through the design committee, and it's been a great experience for myself. I just want to give you an example of what we're looking for from Pelham Panthers basketball. This past weekend, we had 24 teams in town, using 4 gyms in Welland, using Niagara College and some high schools. But this is something we want to do every weekend throughout our season once we get the new community center, is have the place filled from all our teams, and then bringing people from out of town to play in what we want to call our home of champions, the Pelham Panthers Den. So I just want to thank you, and we're looking forward. It can't happen soon enough for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. She's going to sign and seal them, so here we go.
Donald Trump thing, good pen.
You can have the pen. It's a Pelham pen. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we have Todd Major and Mario Batista representing Pelham Minor Hockey Association.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, staff, guests, and other user groups. Just quickly, we want to thank you, obviously, for the opportunity tonight to come forward. Pelham Minor Hockey, as Brian said, they have a large user group, so do we. We're over 300 Pelham families as well, 422 members this year. We're a thriving, growing entity. This is also our 50th year this year of minor hockey. And I don't think we're going away. I don't think we're going anywhere. And so obviously this has been something that our group has wanted for years. Many people in the past have definitely had this vision. Even as far back as 1978, our annual general meeting minutes had started to call for another facility, extra room. So some could say this has been a long time in the making for us. So we just want to say thank you to everybody who's been able to support us. We're obviously going to be a very large user group in the facility, and like Brian said, it can't come soon enough for us either. So we just want to thank you for your support and everything else. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Mario, once again.
Start signing. All right. very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much. There, this is for you to take. Thank you very much. Maybe we should come to you. So we have Mandy Igman and Dawn Good, who are representing the Niagara Center Skating Club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, guests, user groups, and let me tell you, this had nothing to do with skating, but on behalf of the, it was skiing.
Skiing, not
On behalf of the Niagara Center Skating Club, we want to thank you for including us with the consultations and being part of this process. We are so excited because as our name says, we're the center skating club, Niagara Center, and Fontaine's right in the center of it all. So we want to be part of this. We want to bring everybody together. We have over 250 families that we work with right now, and partnership with Skate Canada, Skate Ontario. We're hoping to bring competitions this way because this is going to be a possibility given that we now have a 2-rink community center. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. Vicky wants to take a picture. There we go. Great, thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Next is the Pelham Junior Hockey Club. Tim Toffolo and his friend is here. All right, pause.
First of all, I wanted to thank the mayor and council and staff. The last 3 years has been just a pleasure working with everybody. You guys have been so helpful, and it's just been a real pleasure. So we're really looking forward to the future. There's not a day that goes by where I don't take a drive by and take a look at what's going on, and you know, it's just really exciting, and we're really looking forward to the future here in Pelham.
Thank you.
You just put your handprint or your spot print on it.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much. Oh, thanks, Paz. You stay for the photo later. Thanks. And now we have a new group that's coming to town. The Southern Tier Admirals AAA Hockey. They spoke to us a number of years ago. We're interested in coming to the community. So we have Doug Thompson and Marissa Drella. Melissa Drella. Sorry.
Thank you. Mayor, council, staff, guests. I want to thank the mayor and council and staff. This has been a long time coming for us. When I heard you were looking at building a rink or redoing the rink you were in now, I thought, okay, maybe I need to make contact with Pelham, because basically AAA, in case you don't know, is made up of 9 centers. As far away as Dunnville, Cayuga, Pelham, Waynfleet, Port Colborne, Thorold, Niagara Falls, Fort Erie, Welland, and Pelham. So we take in a broad area to pull children from, but AAA hockey is your elite hockey under Hockey Canada for children. That's the highest level. And it's nothing better than that Pelham is centrally located for our 9 centers, so that it makes it easier for parents to drive and get their kids to hockey. I can't stress that enough, how proud that makes us feel that we can actually put something in the middle of the 10 centers and make it work. We're ecstatic, and it gives us the opportunity to run programs now that we have been only thinking of because we couldn't get the ice time. And not only that, it'll make it easier on Melissa doing the scheduling and trying to get games in when we haven't got ice time and she's pulling rabbits out of her hat. So I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to town. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Welland Raiders Minor Lacrosse Association. They were, 50 years ago when they formed, they were the Pelham Raiders. And we're very, very pleased to welcome them. So we have Ben Chambers and Alicia Gross, is that right?
No, we have Dan Trombley.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Dan Trombley, thank you.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Mayor, council, staff, thank you very much for the opportunity for the new community center. As you mentioned, this was started, the Raiders was started as a centennial project 50 years ago. We started talking about the possibility of moving the Raiders back probably beginning of last year, and when we were approached about the new facility going up, we thought it was a great time for us to bring the Raiders back home to where they belong. So we're looking forward to it. A new arena, new opportunities for us. Hopefully, help us grow the sport, and we're just excited to bring it back to Pelham.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Fellow Raiders again?
Yes, sir.
Welcome back.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we do, okay. Oh, we didn't have the agenda change.
No, it's good.
So will you guys take those to you, or you working on that? Sign this one, and you take a look out for Vicky, she wants to see if you sign it. All right. All right, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Welcome to town. Great to have you. They did say they were going to change the name, so we're going to hold you to that. Back to Pelham. Thank you. That's our signing. So I think we're just going to do a photo as requested by the paper. Should we try and get this out of the way? Perhaps. Chief, can you? Okay. So give us a second here. We're going to move the table and perhaps the fire chief. Here.
Yeah, you're on the top.
Thanks, Chief. And Nate, we have some chairs here too, if we want to use those.
Yeah, if we get kind of everybody in tight together. Yeah, yeah, take individual shots and, yeah.
Ladies in the front.
You gotta get in there, yeah. Here.
Why don't you sit ladies in the front? Thanks, boss. I think that's okay, so Nate's photo, we're gonna look at Nate.
I think that's great.
What a 2020, we're gonna have shots.
That would be,
You're on Peter's side.
I'm not gonna get arrested.
So council, can we, we'll reconvene now? Thank you very much. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for your patience having the signings of those great agreements with the town, so thank you. We look forward to those long-lasting relationships. We'll now turn, next on the agenda is a report from Regional Councillor Beatty. Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Presenting your report.
Members of council and staff, and it was rather unique. I was in Florida and had my iPad, and it wouldn't allow me to download Word. So instead, I've sent your clerk 4 separate emails. They were all aligned when I sent them, but now they're printed out, they aren't quite aligned. However, the content is the same. I'd like to speak to 2 of the issues that are here. One comes from the Public Health and Social Services Committee. The region is reluctantly terminating the travel clinic that they have. But it's not all bad news in the sense that pharmacists are increasingly being given more capabilities for inoculations, et cetera. But we stress in the receipt of this report that significant communication should happen through the media and through travel agencies, et cetera, to inform the public of that change in terms of direction. The second thing I want to bring up is that Bruce Timms and I, through the Greater Niagara Circle Route, have had several meetings with the Commissioner of Planning with regard to, honestly, frustrations in being able to move forward on initiatives stemming from the Circle Route. And it's been because of the fact that the monies that are in hand, it's about $1.3 million, are basically embargoed while there's been an asset management study being undertaken, looking at a broad range of issues in terms of 25 years out and what the needs are going to be for repair, looking at what the increased capacity should be for the future, looking at the liabilities, et cetera, that have occurred because some people have had accidents, et cetera. So it's a fairly broad report. We haven't actually received that audited report at this point in time, but have been aware of its general nature. And what is being proposed, I'm quite personally excited about. It may not turn out to be as great as I hope, but there's at least the potential. What will happen is the Greater Niagara Circle Route Committee will suspend regular meetings for approximately a year. A staff member will be brought on board using funds from the existing funds in the Circle Route Committee. That staffing member will be charged with a number of responsibilities, but it's basically to, I think, set forth a 20 to 25-year plan, a vision for who should own trails in Niagara, who should maintain them, how should trails be developed, et cetera. And I did ask specifically that the proposed Thorold Fonthill Welland Spur be one of the priorities of that staff member during the course of the year. Not to necessarily get it done, but to do the work, the engineering work, the preparatory work, the planning work, to be able to submit a request for funding should such a request be possible during the course of the next year or two. I was quite encouraged to hear that the Commissioner was in favor of that. There will be a lot of work to be undertaken. I will just briefly take the time to mention my personal vision. We currently have 2 basically corridors in terms of the Circle Route, going from basically Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. I envision the possibility of having one mid-peninsula and one at the western end, okay, going between the 2 lakes. We have currently 2 specific routes that go along the shorelines. One, the Gord Harry Trail, almost meets up with the Circle Route in terms of Lake Erie shoreline. The waterfront trail system does go all the way from, goes around the lake, but it goes from basically Burlington all the way down. Again, in that regard, I would envision probably, in my opinion, 2 other trails that would be east-west corridor. One perhaps over the Wine Route, and one that would be a connector with the Thorold Fonthill Welland Spur heading westward towards Grimsby. That may or may not come to fruition, but that's what the discussion has been informally with the Commissioner, and I'm personally quite excited. We're putting in abeyance the meetings of the Greater Niagara Circle Route, but we're incorporating individuals from both that committee as well as the Active Transportation Committee in terms of working with staff over this project over the course of the year ahead. And I think looking at the work, the very fine, excellent work that Pelham has done in terms of developing an active transportation master plan, I think we can learn from that exercise and bring that particular report in terms of serving the broader needs of all of Niagara. So sorry for the lengthy report, but as you can tell, I'm fairly excited about with its potential.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, only comments that I had, we did have a brief update is that there was one verbal presentation, and it was basically from the Director of Economic Development, and it was talking about a renewed generation in terms of, we have the Gateway Economic Center and Zone. The center in particular now has the Foreign Trade Zone capability, and looking at renewed stimulus to try and get more business industry involved with that because of the incentives that are there for the future. Other than that, and I'll turn to the mayor for any others. I got up at 10 to 4 that morning last Thursday to come back from Florida, so I was a little tired by the time we got to the council meeting. There may be other items that the mayor might wish to highlight.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, and certainly appreciate staff formatting your iPad email into the format that we're used to at council. The only other thing that I would add and sort of highlight for council, and I was the lone person out on this, although there were more in committee when we discussed it. This is the last item under planning and development, and it's regarding the coordinated policy review and the growth plan, prime employment areas, and the Gateway Economic Zone. This is essentially a report where staff will be going to the province, and regional council agreed to this, going to the province to say that although we've already approved community improvement plans and facilities like GE are using those community improvement plans for economic development, that regional council is interested in getting additional incentives or additional concessions, I guess, in terms of policy in the area that's called the Gateway Economic Zone. So that zone is along the Niagara River. It's between Fort Erie and Niagara Falls. And the commissioner kept talking in committee, kept talking about that there may be some policy conflicts with development in that zone area. I tried to make the point at committee and again at council that I didn't see that there were conflicts because growth is supposed to occur in the urban areas, in the built-up areas. And as we know in our community, there's some history of those urban areas, and many of them exist and have existed for many, many years. And I was worried that this idea, this commentary would actually try to increase the urban zones and build up things in the agricultural lands, which I know is of great concern to our community. I was, as I said, I had some friends in committee when we voted on it, and but at council I was the lone standout. But I am concerned about expanding development into the non-urban areas. I'm also concerned about wetlands and the preservation of wetlands. So that's why I rose and spoke against it. So that was approved by council, and we'll continue to update council on those discussions and negotiations and working together with the province and the federal government on that. But I did want to highlight that for you. Do members of council have any questions for Councillor Beatty or myself with his report? Councillor Powell.
No, just a quick request, if you could send us a copy of the growth plan prime, I would appreciate reading it. I'd like to understand it a little bit more.
The 2041 growth plan?
Okay.
I wouldn't
Thank you.
mind, I don't know if the other members of council, but it's worthwhile reading. There's some interesting scenarios that are noted in there.
Yeah.
I also note that there's some proposed minor changes to the Greenbelt designation, so, but particularly that growth plan 2041, I would request if you don't mind circulating that to us. I'd like to.
I think it's still a work in progress, and there's a number of documents that are coming together to form that, Councillor, so.
That's
So whatever you got
Yeah.
on hand, I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind.
okay.
Thanks.
And just to that, one of the other items, and Councillor Beatty, I don't know if you saw this on our agenda, but we have several reports from the region.
Yep.
And where is it here? The minor changes to the Greenbelt mapping, which again is under the planning, is on our council agenda. And I did ask the question on behalf of council about that, and knowing full well that Councillor Beatty, you gave us that update last meeting that you're trying to work to preserve the and include the Fawn Hill Kame in the NEC lands. So that's on here, and I said, why isn't this in this report? And they said, well, these are exemptions. So additions are being dealt with, as Councillor Beatty outlined last meeting, whereas exemptions are being dealt with separately. So that's what this report is, and we do have some of those on our agenda, I believe, this evening. So yes, the mapping and the escarpment commission decisions and the growth plan policy change request. So that's on our agenda. Anything further, Councillor Pat?
Very quickly, the discussion paper on the types of social and affordable housing, as you see on this agenda, is going to come up from the Pelham Seniors Advisory Group. Who prepared that discussion paper? Where did that come from? Niagara Regional Housing, or was that just done by the Community Services Department?
I believe so, but it's a case
Yeah.
where the mayor has made commentary on that specifically, so he's had more direct involvement than I have. So
I did circulate that to council on email, Councillor Pat.
I saw that.
That there were various types of housing. I thought it was of interest to council. I didn't know that the seniors advisor would be coming forward, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
That could
I
be
just wanna
something that we could
reference that.
receive.
Yeah.
We could receive formally if we want, but I did circulate that to
I
council.
wouldn't mind, because we're going to discuss it later tonight.
Formally from,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for your report. And welcome back.
Thank you.
Your brief vacation. Thank you. Now we're moving to adoption of minutes, and it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the council receive. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have to receive Councillor Beatty's report. So it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the council receive Regional Councillor Beatty's report from March 6, 2017 for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks again, Councillor. Now we move to minutes and adoption. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. Be it resolved, the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. Minutes of our special meeting of council on February 21st, 2017, and of our council meeting on February 21st, 2017. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we move to consent agenda items to be considered in block. So all of number 9 we would tend to consider as one long motion. We can speak to it, but if councillors would like to do something different, then it should be lifted for separate consideration. Are there any items that councillors would like to lift? Councillor Junkin?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, 9.53, 9.54, and 9.55. They're all pretty well connected to the MOU that the town has entered into with the Cherry Ridge Park. And I
Thank
just-
you. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other items to be lifted? I don't think there's anything
I'll
else.
speak to the other.
You'll speak to the other items, okay, Councillor?
Yeah,
Thank you very
I'll
much.
speak to those. I'm not gonna-
Since there are no others, so we'll lift those items. Thank you. It has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the following consent agenda items be received, and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. 9.1, presentation of recommendations arising from our Policy and Priorities Committee meeting of February 21st, 2017, and the minutes under 9.2 of that committee. Then we have committee of the whole minutes of our meeting on February 16th, 2017. We also have the Policy and Priorities Committee minutes of February 21st, 2017. We have staff reports of a routine nature for information or action. There are a few items here. Or one item, I guess. We have a report regarding the execution of a development agreement with 839 River Road, file number DA0117. And the motion, be it resolved that Community Planning and Development Department report for 839 River Road be received, and that the council approve the bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into a development agreement with Homes by Hendricks, Inc. regarding 839 River Road. We have some action correspondence of a routine nature. 9.4.1 from the Fond Hill Volunteer Fire Association, a request for a toll booth. And the motion, be it resolved, the council received the correspondence dated February 16, 2017 from the Fond Hill Volunteer Firefighters Association, and the council approve the toll booth request for April 29th, 2017. We have a letter from Lipa Park. So the motion is, be it resolved, the council receives the correspondence from John Reiter Leap Park being a request for community festivals and special occasions permits, and the council approved the request to hold community festivals on the following dates. May 22nd, 2017, Slovenian Open House, part of Niagara Folk Arts Festival. June 24th, Slovenian Day. August 16th, 2017, Music in the Park Festival, and that the festivals outlined therein be and are hereby designated as community events of municipal significance, and that the clerk be directed to so advise Lipa Park. We have information correspondence items, and as you know, some have been lifted, so we have two. It's Parks and Recreation Ontario. Congratulations, respecting the Parks and Recreation Award of Excellence for Operations, and also information regarding proposed minor changes to the Greenbelt mapping response to the recent Niagara Escarpment Commission decisions and the growth plan policy change request, and that's from Niagara Region that I alluded to earlier. We have a resolution that we're receiving from Peel Region regarding community water fluoridation, and we have finally, under 9.7, some committee minutes for receipt, for information. Pelham Library Board minutes of January 25th, 2017, Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee minutes of January 4th. And then we have some correspondence, which I know Councillor Papp will allude to. This is information regarding a survey that occurred in a local media. Be it resolved, the Council received the correspondence from the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee dated March 1st, 2017, regarding their response to the results of the Voice of Pelham survey on affordable seniors housing, January 3rd, 2017, for information. 9.7.22, a request regarding affordable housing, and the motion be it resolved, the council received the correspondence from the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee regarding their recommendation for council to consider developing plans to ensure adequate and affordable seniors housing is available in Pelham, and we're receiving that for information. And finally, from the Seniors Advisory, be it resolved, the council received correspondence dated March 1st, 2017, and that council authorized the mayor and town clerk to apply to the World Health Organization requesting that the town of Pelham be designated as an age-friendly community. That's the resolution. I'm going to turn to you, Councillor Papp, if it's okay to give us an update on the Seniors Advisory Committee and those items of correspondence and the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. The first item, the survey, I think we could summarize it best as stated in the letter that there is a great deal of concern that many of our younger Pelham seniors will not be able to afford to retire in the community, and what we're seeing is that that our strategic plan, along with a very specific type of intense study, be undertaken to determine what would be the best options to ensure that our seniors, not only now but in the future, are able to stay here and not have to consider options that are not consistent with their lifestyle or affordability. And that also aligns with the next letter where we are requiring that you consider plans to ensure adequate and affordable housing seniors in the area. And I know last year we held a forum, and we're thinking we're going to probably redo it again and invite the developers. But I think, Mr. Mayor, you and I are working with the Pelham Chamber. That will be probably one of the topics when we discuss with both the builders and developers of what the possibilities are. And I think the secondary units that are being discussed are a possibility as well, because we want to make sure that people stay here, live here, to the very best of their life, whether it's independently or whether they require care, that this would be the best community for them to stay. But right now, the way it stands, it doesn't. The data doesn't look too good, and it's suggesting people may be struggling to find that kind of housing types in that variety. And finally, I just want to say to you, this is a major step. I can't tell you how. If in fact we are accepted by the World Health Organization, then our community will stand out as one of the few communities in the country, let alone the province, where we will be adopting the strategies that are applied throughout the world on how we embrace and look after our seniors from all different capacities. And there are certain requirements, and I want to thank the mayor for meeting with us last Friday. This application will go in probably the next couple of weeks. But there are several attributes to it that deal directly with how we build developments, build housing, transit, health, and it'll give us an opportunity as well to access not only research and data, but possibly other funding areas that would be flowing through the World Health Organization. And it becomes also a center, that the universities that are in the surrounding area, whether it be McMaster with the medical school or Brock or the college could use, we become the potential for what they call site-specific research and data collection that directly affects our ability to provide, and that applies to all age groups. So this is a major step, and we'll keep you posted. And many thanks, Mayor, to you and the staff for helping us out with that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Papp. To that last item first, and then to one of the other items you spoke about, then I'll open it up for councillors to make comment. The work that the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee has done on this, some very dedicated members, they've put on this World Health Organization, they basically put together the application ready to go. The way I read this this resolution, you're saying the mayor and clerk to apply. I think obviously staff will come forward with that application and take the information that the Seniors Advisory has put together, and we'll bring that forward to council. We'll need council approval, I think, on that final application. So that's sort of the next step on it, but they've done so much groundwork already, and hopefully it can be in short strokes to achieve that. And then the second item, Councillor Papp, you did allude to the Chamber of Commerce wanting to hold a meeting. They've signaled that they want to and invite the town and representatives of council, et cetera, to a meeting with the development community, builders, et cetera. And one of the topics should be affordable housing. So we look forward to that meeting coming forward. I think the Chamber is trying to organize that hopefully for the end of March is what they're planning to do. So we know that will be one of the topics as well. So thank you. I'll open it up for any members of council on those items. Okay, nothing further. Oh, Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
This is not what Councillor Papp is. This is on a.
Well, is there anything else on age-friendly and the seniors? No? Okay, so go ahead, open up for another item. Go ahead,
Yes,
Councillor, on the consent agenda.
I forgot to lift another item that I wanted to, and that's the 9.3.1 report regarding the execution of the development permit over on River Road. I'd also like to discuss that if I may.
Okay, so this is being received, and then later on in the agenda, we'll be considering the bylaw. Let's see what your comment is right now. Did you have a...
So my comment right now, through you, Mr. Mayor, is that knowing this operation, and I see the applicant is building a house within the MDS distances set out by the town, and I guess it brings the old age question, how close is too close? As you know, all those properties on that River Road were unfortunately created by testimony demise, so they had nothing to do with good planning sense. Unfortunately, they're there. And therefore, this one building lot that's left is the closest building lot to this, to the chicken barns, holding approximately between 40 and 50,000 chickens. And although I'm encouraged by the fact that planning has indeed attached something to the deed, so that whoever buys this lot will indeed realize they're right next door to this 280 feet away, or 200, I forget the distance, away from this enterprise. It's still, unfortunately, I just don't think it's, myself, my own opinion is that it's just, like I say, how close is too close, and it's just, I just think that we're asking for trouble allowing this house to be built within the minimum distance setbacks that we have adopted as our own, as a provincial guidelines.
Okay, thank you. There were some comments there. I think it's meters, not feet.
Yes, I believe it is too. Yes, it was meters.
So if you don't mind, can we get the Director of Planning to just maybe give us an update on that? Can you clarify the distance and the provincial and the local rules regarding this, please? And then also why it's at our council table.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you. So this was initially started off as a committee of adjustment application where they sought relief from the setback from the agricultural operation in our zoning bylaw. because this was an existing lot of record that was created after the bylaw came into effect, it's supposed to have a 300-meter separation, distance separation from the chicken barns in this case, the livestock operation. This is an existing lot of record that does exist, so it is a buildable lot. And so they needed to seek relief from that 300-meter setback requirements and apply to the Committee of Adjustment for that. And they were granted that relief, and so it was a reduction down to 280 meters or thereabouts. The farmer next door did attend the Committee of Adjustment hearing, did express concerns about it. The committee approved the variance, and there were no appeals to that decision. One of the conditions of the variance is that he enter into this development agreement and that we specify and put it on title that this property may be subject to odor issues associated with the adjacent agricultural operations. It's a warning to purchasers that they are in close proximity to that, and from time to time they may be subject to odor issues, and so it's to protect the farmer so that he doesn't get complaints. It's to ensure that the property owners are aware. And so the development agreement is something that requires council approval, and that is why this is here this evening for you to consider.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Junkin, anything further on the matter?
I guess, and I don't know how relevant this is to the, what we're talking here, but I just wonder if the shoe was on the other foot and that house was there and the farmer wanted to put those barns up. I just wonder then, would we be respecting the homeowner more than we're respecting the farmer?
Mr. Mayor, through you, certainly these separation requirements are meant to protect the farmer. And to ensure that they have the ability to appropriately farm and have a livelihood from their operation. If this farming operation were to expand, it will need to seek relief, and it was going to need to seek relief regardless of this house being here or not because of the adjacent home.
Immediately to the west?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no,
Anything further?
no, that's okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this issue? Councilor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's very prudent that this be added to title, because any knowledgeable purchaser will be looking into matters like this. And in my other life, I had some experiences where city folk moved into rural environments, and 6 months after moving there, complained about something that had been there for 5 generations. So in fact, a knowledgeable, let the buyer beware in this particular case. The farmer deserves to be protected, and I think this is a great step in doing that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ribyak, did you have something?
I didn't.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry, the way you were looking. Okay, thank you. I think just further to this, I think just to build on that, I think it is important to include this. It does adequately address, as it says in the report, the conditions of the Committee of Adjustment. I'd like to point out that it's the Committee of Adjustment that has the authority to grant this. And I believe, and I'm going to call on the planner, I believe the issue is with our minimum setback distance, which is a more global carte blanche minimum setback versus the provincial, which is specific to the type of operation that is. So it's allowed under the provincial, but not under ours, which I understood was a kind of a carte blanche disallowance. Madam Director?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you, the way our bylaw reads, lots that existed prior to the bylaw coming into effect have to meet the MDS requirements. New lots that were created after the bylaw came into effect were supposed to meet the 300 meters, so it's a specific distance. It doesn't refer you back to the MDS, so it's a little bit different. The MDS is the provincial minimum distance separation criteria.
Right.
I do also want to note that we did have discussions with the adjacent farmer on this application. He was aware of it. We had conversations with him and with his solicitor on this. So he was certainly aware. We talked about, with him about putting the condition about that warning clause and having it registered on title, knowing that that was a means to try to give him and provide him with additional protection.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's something that council should also consider. As council knows, we're working on our new updated zoning bylaw, and so let's keep this particular situation in mind as we work our way through, especially the rural components of the new zoning bylaw. Anything else on items under the consent agenda? We had some great news, Ms. Van Ravensway, from Parks and Recreation Ontario respecting the Award of Excellence. Please fill us in.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, some exciting news. We were awarded through Parks and Recreation Ontario, the Award of Excellence in Operations for our Thursday night evening event out here in the Peace Park.
That's great. And it was awarded last week, was it at the conference?
No, that's the one that's coming up.
Oh, the
I'm
one
sorry.
that's coming up, okay.
That
Oh,
was my
perfect.
correspondence.
Sorry, but I was confused because we got another award last week, which I guess is in your report. Thank you. So that's coming up on March 30th, the Pro one, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Well, that's great news. The Thursday night experience with the supper market and the working together with the band shell, et cetera, was a bit of concern from the community moving forward, and those looking from the outside in really see this as something very, very valuable to the community, and so we look forward to going and receiving this award publicly on the 30th of March. So thank you very much. Any other items? All right, we're going to call the question on those items that haven't been lifted. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And now to the other items that were lifted. Madam Clerk, do I put the resolution on as they were, is that correct? Yes. Okay. So there were 3 items lifted, and they were moved and seconded, so I'll put them on, then I'll turn to Councillor Junkin. So it has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the council received the petition and correspondence from residents of the Cherry Ridge subdivision in Fenwick, dated February 22nd, 2017, regarding the memorandum of understanding between the town of Pelham and the District School Board of Niagara, respecting a potential construction of a soccer field in a portion of Cherry Ridge Park, and that the petition be referred to staff for consideration in the development of a report regarding a potential agreement between the town and the school board. The next item regarding Wellington Heights Public School Council and their correspondence, be it resolved that the council received correspondence from M. Leduc, principal and member of the Advisory Council, Wellington Heights Public School, dated February 17th, 2017, regarding a potential construction to build a soccer field in a portion of Cherry Ridge Park, and that the correspondence be referred to staff for consideration in the development of a report regarding a potential agreement between the town and the school board. And finally, a letter to the town of Pelham. The resolution be it resolved, and that's 955, that council receive the correspondence from Ed Doucette and Lisa Hunt regarding a potential construction of a soccer field in the portion of Cherry Ridge Park, and the correspondence be referred to staff for consideration in the development of a report regarding a potential agreement between the town and the school board. They are 3 separate issues. The councillor lifted them I think he lifted them in
As a group?
as a group.
Yeah, if that's possible.
Is that?
Okay, well, they are 3
They are
separate issues with 3
Well,
separate.
let's get you going, and we'll see where it takes us.
So I'll
Councillor.
just,
We'll
if I
work our way
may,
through that. Go ahead.
I'll just comment on a general uptake on all 3 of them. And so through you, Mr. Mayor, I pulled the 3 items. Obviously, they're connected, and they're concerning the MOU that's currently sitting with the staff in their discussions. And I just wanted to encourage all members of council to visit the park. I must say that when we had that meeting February 8th, I had never been in the park. I live way out in the boonies. The park meant nothing to me. It was after that meeting that we met with the concerned citizens, and I could see that I better get up to speed on this. So I did go out the next day, and unfortunately, the flags that were mentioned during that meeting, they were gone.
Ed took them away.
Yes. So I just wanted to encourage the other members of council that if you haven't made a trek out there, I know it's not in your part of town, to encourage you to go there, look over the fence, and see just exactly what's being discussed, because while I was there was a couple of people walking their dogs, and they certainly filled me in on their concern for their park. And that's really all I wanted to do, Mr. Mayor, was to make sure my colleagues take the time, visit that park, and get really well acquainted with the item.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any others to the item? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did take a trek out there on Saturday morning and had a very good look around at exactly what was going on. A little dusting of snow on the field. However, I did get a good picture in my mind. I've received several emails and some phone calls from folks, and I am taking in deep consideration all of the information that is being brought forth to me. And when it does come, if and when it does come to this table, I certainly will keep all these things in mind when we discuss it, and we'll just see where it goes from there. But certainly there are issues, and I fully understand everybody's points of view on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Durley. Any others? Councillor Papp?
I too, along with Councillor Durley, have been to the area a couple of times, so I will definitely take all of the concerns and all of the manifestations that are involved with the particular proposal for the land, and I agree with the Councillor Durley. We'll deal with it when it gets here to council, and we appreciate the residents giving us this their insight. So I'm very familiar with the area.
Thank you. Any others? Are you signaling now, Councillor Ribbiak?
I am not.
Okay.
You're very sensitive
You
to
moved.
this evening, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I apologize. The park has had lots of activity out there. It's on one of my walking routes that I take. So I was out there this weekend as well, taking another look at the park as well, and the school. The school is progressing. It seems to have stalled a little bit despite the nice weather, but we look forward to that being completed as well. So I appreciate certainly the correspondence, all of the correspondence and the petition, and many of the individuals are here this evening. And as has been stated in the resolutions, that this will be coming forward. I was mentioning to some folks before the meeting that the sort of standard operating procedure, and it's probably not something that the normal average citizen may know, is that we tend to sign a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, with a group, etc., and say that we're going to negotiate and look at the options and kind of bound that out. And then an agreement, as Councillor Durley said, may or may not come back to us. So in the case of the groups that we had before us this evening earlier during the council meeting, council signed those memorandums of understanding in April of last year, and it took that long for that to come forward. I know that some have said, this was put together in June, approved in committee in June, and later on June 6th, and then approved by council at June 21st or 22nd, whatever that date was, 2016, sorry. And staff are continuing to work on that. So as Councillor Durley indicated, it may or may not come back to us. The information that I had and expressed to the community was that it would come back to us. What we heard was in April in terms of that. There was another point on that. Sometimes the memorandums of understanding work out, as we saw this evening. Sometimes they don't. I was thinking about this. Which agreements have we done? Councillor Papp is correct. It was the YMCA. We did enter into a memorandum of understanding with the YMCA, and it didn't come together into an agreement. So just because we sign an MOU doesn't mean that it will formulate into an agreement. So that's the regular process, as Councillor Junkin indicated. It will be coming back to us, and the resolutions we have before us are to take all of this, refer it to staff as they formulate this. So working together with the school board on a potential agreement and trying to address the concerns from the community. If there's nothing else, I'm going to call the question on those. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we move to presentation consideration of reports. First is my report. Thank you very much. Very, very pleased to be part of the grand opening of the renewed Maple Acre Library. It was a great event. Many in the audience who are here tonight were there as well for that grand opening, and that occurred on the 24th of February. I wanted to thank Councillors Accursi, Durley, Papp, and Ribiak for attending this grand opening of the renewed Maple Acre Library. I was very pleased to cut the ribbon with Joe Bouchard, the board vice chair, Kirk Weaver, the library CEO, and Michael Curley, the M2 Group, Inc., who's the builder and the design builder, and then Robert Eland with Architect 49. I offer deep appreciation and thanks to the members of the committee that worked on this, the design committee, and also those that came forward from the community. And as I said that evening, it was a tripartite arrangement that we put together. So we had representatives from the library board. We had Maxine Gaylor, who was the former chair, Joe Bouchard, vice chair, and Tim Wright, the current chair, representing on that committee. We also had Friends of Maple Acre Library representatives, and they include Gary Chambers, who's here this evening. Thank you, Gary, for that service. And Sue Kissel and Councillor Peter Papp and myself were representing council on that committee, working together with staff and the architects, et cetera, to do that. I wanted to say special thanks to Town of Pelham staff, Darren Ottaway and Kim Holland, especially for their work on that. And I am very, very thrilled, as I know council is, with the redevelopment of this library. It maintains the history of libraries in downtown Fenwick and also continues council's ongoing commitment to redevelopment of the downtown in that area. And I hope that the community enjoys that library for many, many, many years to come. I had the pleasure of attending the second annual Tyler Grummett Wheelchair Basketball Tournament that was held on the 25th of February. Pleased to attend and cheer the participants of that. Congratulations to Reese Evans. Members of council will, of course, recall Reese. He's been here at council a number of times for various issues, and he's very involved in this. Tyler would come out to a number of his games and has reffed those games, the wheelchair basketball games, and also participated in them, getting into that wheelchair. So it was quite appropriate that Reese organized a tournament, and also that members of Tyler's family, it was very moving that they also participated and his friends. So thanks very much to the Pelham Panthers basketball. It's one of the very few wheelchair basketball organizations in Niagara, and it's the Pelham Panthers that host that. So I think their season's complete. It just completed this past weekend. But thanks very much to them and to Reese for organizing that and members of the Grummett family. Very pleased to attend some celebrations and welcome for the Canada Summer Games 2021 Bid Committee Welcome, which occurred on March 1st. The organizers, congratulations to them for putting on an amazing event. The day started with probably I'm going to say this tongue-in-cheek, but the most boring part where you meet the politicians, and then it just got better from there. And one of the highlights was the event that I attended at 1:30 in the afternoon, which was a mock welcome ceremony, and it was held at the Performing Arts Center. The place was packed with kids and community members, and it was just so exciting to be there. There's some pictures there in my report of what that looked like, and to really, it was to those members of the committee that will be evaluating Niagara's bid, and they spoke very well in terms of the universal support across Niagara for that bid, the amount of dollars that's been put together for that bid from Niagara, which I think is totaling up to $18 million from Niagara alone. So it was a great welcome, and other activities were part of that as well. And kudos to the organizing committee. We're going to find out on the 31st of March. I think they're going to come down. So it's quite a fast process, and we'll find out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get it and beat out Ottawa, Sudbury, and the Kitchener-Waterloo area for that. Very pleased to attend the Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl for Kids' Sake. Thank you very much, Councillor Papp, for for working to put together that very fun team. I was kidding with some counselors earlier that my bowling score is actually would have been better as a golf score, and I could never achieve that as a golf score. But anyways, it was great fun, and hopefully they were able to raise significant dollars for that. Just a great event, and wish them all the best. I encourage them to come earlier next time so that maybe members of council can put it in their calendars, and we can have many from council to be there. So thank you, Councillor Papp, for organizing that. Also, not on my report, but I did want to mention that I had the pleasure of dropping the puck for the major-minor game on the minor midget game on Saturday. On Sunday, sorry. We're hosting along with the Schoenberg team, and we're in the finals. They're looking for the red hat in that final tournament. So I had the pleasure of dropping the puck for that game, and there's a great crowd there. Unfortunately, they lost on home ice, but they'll keep chasing that. So it's tied. The series is tied with 2 games in. So that is my report. And it has been moved by Councillor Junkin, second by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved that Mayor Augustyn's report, dated March 6, 2017, be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we move to staff reports. It's been moved by Councillor Junkin, second by Councillor Ribbiak. Be it resolved, the Council repeal and replace policy number S400-04, municipal grant policy. Questions or comments regarding the user group municipal grant policy and the responses? So really, this policy does enact what council stated, and as the report indicates from the treasurer, council said, makes sense. Let's see what the users groups are saying for this, those that might benefit from the funds, and organize different events for the community, raise money for various charities. And as the treasurer indicated in the report, it was well received. So very, very pleased with that. And I think it's important for us to take those steps to hear directly from those that might be impacted. And we're very pleased that we're able to accommodate their concerns. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. And thanks to staff, Ms. Van Ravensway and Ms. Pupo, for your work on that, and others. Thank you. Now we have presentation consideration of bylaws. A number of the bylaws have been lifted and removed and dealt with already, so we only have the first 2 that are with us, and this is one councillor that we spoke about earlier, Councillor Junkin. So it has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, third time, and do pass, and the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 1, bylaw 3840, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3728, which was adopted in 2016. And this is to establish the 2017 fees and charges to be collected by the corporation of the Town of Pelham. And the second is bylaw 3841, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Homes by Hendricks, Inc. Any further discussion regarding these? Councillor Papp?
Just quickly through you, Mr. Mayor, to the treasurer, the bylaw, any significant changes or basically just adjustment?
So you're referring to the fees and charges
Fees and
bylaw,
charges, just
Madam
I need
Treasurer?
a synopsis if anything's really, I don't see anything in there that's.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The report came at, I think it's the previous council meeting, through committee with the identification of what the changes were. Very minimal. Most of them are cost of living increases. There were some initial new fees that we had to capture in this bylaw as well. So that's what that incorporated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Durley to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wonder if a print copy of that could be made available.
Yep.
It's great to have it on the screen, but if it's good to have it on file if people call to ask for things like that. And there's no immediate need for it, but if you find some time between trying to get to sleep and getting to sleep, that would be nice if you could, if we could make one of those up so it's available for us to have reference.
So it's for you, Councillor, or for the public? Or both?
I would like it for myself, and I don't know whether other councils would be or
Okay.
whatever, but certainly I would like that because from time to time I do get questions as to what does it cost to, and it would be much easier reference for me to do that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm not sure that this is out on the counter. I know the clerk probably in previous years may have put that out there, but we should probably have a copy at the front counter as well, just to make sure it's available. Not everybody can use one of these fancy computers, so better make sure it's available for that as well, if you don't mind. I do have a question regarding this, and I'm going to turn to the planning director. Regarding the building permit fees, they haven't been changed in a number of years, and I understood that you were endeavoring to review some of those and perhaps include inflationary adjustments to them. What's been done in this case?
Mr. Mayor, you're quite correct. These have not been increased in a few years. We did have a consultant that was retained about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, that has done a complete evaluation and assessment of the building department, its function and services that it has, and time it spends doing inspections and permit reviews, and has come up with a calculation of what the fees should be to ensure that the building department remains revenue neutral, at least from the town's perspective. We have that report. The consultant has been away for 3 months on a world tour.
Wow.
And so we will be bringing
You
that
didn't pay him.
report to you in April. And then we will have to do a public meeting as well. So it is coming, but it will be
Okay.
probably another 2 or 3 months before we.
That's always a robust discussion regarding
Yes.
building permit fees.
Yes, and
I think something that council may want to consider when the time comes, as I mentioned, are these fees increased for inflation?
Not all the
They're
fees
not.
are.
So
There's
the
some-
building permit fees, Madam Treasurer?
The building permit fees have remained the same.
Okay.
This policy, or this bylaw will come back forward and be amended
Right.
once it's done. It's the same with the water and wastewater. We do that kind of after the user fee guide, so there are some new meter sizing that will need to be added into this as well, so we'll have to
Okay.
amend it.
All right, thank you very much. I think at minimum, council may want to, I'll drop this one out there. At minimum, council may want to consider adding some sort of inflationary element into the fees. I know that they've been, as I said, flatlined for a number of years. So that's something we may consider a way in which to do that. But no changes here. Thank you very much for answering that. I'm going to call the question unless there's further discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now, we do have an in-camera item, and as is our normal practice, we're going to recess that, so it's been moved by Councillor Junkin, second by Councillor Durley. Be it resolved, the council recess the in-camera portion of the meeting and reconvene immediately following the committee of the whole meeting scheduled for this evening. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We'll now take a brief recess before we start committee. Thank you.